Hey paper crafting friends, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be making this fun little note card carrier. It is a great little box with cards in it that you can gift to people. So I just want to show you the steps to make this fun project. I originally got the instructions for this project in a Club Scrap kit. So if you've watched some of my videos, you know Club Scrap is a favorite of mine. It is another company that I tend to deal with besides my love for Kiwi Lane. So Club Scrap, in one of their card kits, provided the instructions for making 2 of these boxes and a whole bunch of cards to fill them with, which was so cool. And then I just started using those instructions to create more. When I got in touch with them about doing this video, because I wanted to have permission to use their design, they shared with me another project that just makes one of the boxes and uses the extra supplies, the extra pieces of paper that you're cutting to create some cards. So I'm attaching a link to that if you're interested in going to their digital download. It'd be fun for you to check out the kind of projects they have anyway, you guys. If you like to do stuff like this, you need to go see this site. So let me just kind of show you what we're going to do today. So this little band is just a sliding band to hold the box closed. So I'm going to pop that off. And I just decorated this with a little stamp and a couple little stickers. Not a big deal, but just a fun little touch for the box. When you open it up, you've got these little pop-up tabs. And then each one of these pockets holds about 4 cards. Okay, I think this one I just put 3 in. And then this one's got 4. Okay, so this is just a fun way to be able to gift some of your handmade cards to someone else. So I know with Christmas around the corner, we're all starting to think about what we can do. And I thought, this is a good time to share this video, just in case you want to create some of these fun little boxes for people. So in the next segment of the video, I tell you what you need to gather to work on this project. Okay, there were a couple of things that I forgot to mention. So in addition to what you're going to hear about next, grab a corner rounder. Grab some kind of a stamp pad, your cell phone, something about a 1/2 inch thick and a few inches wide so that you can use it to apply pressure as you're working through this project. And then grab a scoreboard because you're going to need this too. It doesn't have to be this big. It could be one of the smaller scoreboards, but you are going to need a scoring, a way to score your materials as we're working. So all right, stay tuned, and I hope you have fun creating along with me today. To complete this project, you're going to need some basic supplies. I'll go through them so that you can then pause the video if you'd like and gather what you're going to need. That way, if you want to work along with me, you absolutely can, and just pause the video when you need a minute to catch up. Okay. First thing you need is a piece of 12 by 12 folding board. Okay, so this is a little thicker than your average cardstock. They sell this in the Club Scrap shop. Often what I can find in the shop is black. This time I did have to purchase the white from another place. Look for 120 pound cardstock, 125 pound cardstock, something like that. So 12 by 12, 1 sheet. This will make actually 2 of the note card carriers. And then for each note card carrier you want to make, you need 2 sheets of just a plain or, just a real subtle design, 12 by 12 paper. I really prefer to have double-sided so that I know that I'm going to be able to see the 2 different colors that are going to pop up with the way that this design works. Okay. And then you're going to need a 12 by 12 print that coordinates with those solids, okay? So I actually these will coordinate either way with the green or the kind of turquoise side, okay? These are also a decent quality paper. You don't want a real thin, just pattern paper. You want more of a cardstock weight, okay? You're gonna need some Velcro dots. You just need two of each style for this, for each one of the carriers that you're gonna make. We're just gonna walk through one note card carrier today. You need scissors, you need a trimmer, some glue, and then some kind of tape. I'm using a tape runner, okay? So let's jump right in. I'm gonna grab your piece of the folding board, and we're gonna start by trimming a 1/4 inch off of one side. So I know this is 12 by 12. I'm gonna position it in my trimmer at 11 3/4. And then this is just a discarded piece, that little 1/4 inch. Go ahead and rotate it. And we're gonna take a 1/2 inch off. That's just gonna be a discard piece. We're gonna do 2 cuts at 3/8, okay? So this kind of trimmer is beautiful for this because you know you've got a 1/4 and then you wanna go 1 more 1/8. So 3/8 cut. There's my 1/8 and another 1/4. 3/8. And then there's my 1/4 and another 1/8. 3/8. Okay. So once you've cut those 3 pieces off, just set them aside. You're going to use them for a project, for later in the project. This now is 10 3/8 wide, which is perfect. That's exactly what you need. Okay. And then it's 11 3/4 the other direction. You want to go ahead and cut this right down the middle, and that's going to be 5 7/8. So you've got 5 inches. Remember, 7/8 is just an 1/8 shy of 6 inches. Okay, an 1/8 of an inch. If you see 2 lines on my trimmer, if you're close enough in to see that, that's because that's a 1/16. Okay, these are 1/16 inch marks, but I need 2 of those. So 5 7/8. That's going to cut it right down the middle. Okay, good. Set those aside. We're going to need to score them later. You're only going to use one for this project. The other one will be an extra if you want to make another one of these note card carriers. Okay. Next, I'm going to move to my plain sheets, and these are going to be cut the same way, okay, for the most part. And I'll explain that as we go. Okay, so the first cut that you're going to make on this 12 by 12 plain is at 6 1/4. Okay. And then you're going to rotate this piece and do a cut at 10 1/2. This is going to become one of your pockets to hold cards, and then this is going to become a tab that goes over the top. So just set those aside for now. Unfortunately, you don't have enough left to do that with this remaining piece. That's why you need 2 of the plains for each note card carrier, just because it doesn't quite allow you to do both. One of the things that we're going to need when we're done is a cute little band to go around this, and we're going to take it out of this piece, okay, so that our next one is going to have some larger chunks left. Now, if you're following the instructions from the Club Scrap link that I'm going to provide you, this is going to be slightly different than that. Okay, I've modified it a little bit based on being able to create these note card carriers as efficiently as possible if I'm not making coordinating cards. If you're making coordinating cards, then you're going to do this a little bit differently. Okay, so I am at 5 3/4 on here. I want to do a 1 inch strip, so I'm going to go to 4 3/4. So that's going to give me a 1 inch, and then I also want a 3/4 inch strip, and I'll show you why. Okay, you've got this scrap left over. I'm going to set this aside. We might use a piece of it at the end to do a cute little decor piece, but for now I'm just going to set that aside. And I've got these 2 strips. At the end, we're going to be making a choice about how we want to create the little wrap for the note card carrier. So you might do the turquoise in the back and the green on top, or flip it, and this is why I wanted you to use double-sided cardstock. You could do it the other way, okay? It just kind of depends on what your eye likes better when we get to that step. But now you've got those pieces cut, and we won't touch them again until we get to the very end. I do need to cut another one of my 12 by 12 planes. So I'm going to put it in my trimmer. I'm going to go to 6 1/4. Rotate it and cut it 10 1/2. Again, you're creating the second pocket now and the second tab. Okay, those can get set aside. This is scrap unless you're making the cards, so you will not need that piece again for this project. We're going to move on to your printed piece. So for your print, what you're creating are the cover, the front and back cover for the note card carrier, and then inside the note card carrier, there's little pockets that hold your cards. They're created mostly, like the structure is created out of those planes, but then you put a piece of this on top so that the whole outside and inside coordinate, okay? So for this one, we are going to start with a cut at 9.75. This is just going to create a scrap. So set that aside. Your next cut is at 8.75. And then another at 4.5. Go ahead and pull that, keep that 4.5 in your trimmer and turn it the other direction. You're going to cut it at 11 1/2. This little piece that we're creating right now, that's just going to be scrap. So set that one aside. And then your next cut is at 5.75. So 5 3/4 inches. Okay, so this is the front and back cover of your little note card carrier. You've got this guy left. We're going to cut it at 11. And at 5 1/2. So now you've got 2 of those. Those will cover the folio pockets. That little piece you trimmed off is scrap. And then this is going to be a cover for the inside and outside spine of the note card carrier. We're going to start by cutting it at 11 1/2. And then at 5.75. All right. So at this point, all of our major cuts have been made. You'll notice I swapped out my trimmer for a scoreboard. So at this point, I want you to grab the folding board that's going to be the base for our note card carrier. Okay. On this, you're going to score at 4 5/8. Okay, so again, find your 4, find your 1/2 inch, and go another 1/8 beyond that, so not quite to 3/4. Okay, so score at 4 5/8, and then score again at 5 3/4. Okay, I kind of like to go over those a couple times with this kind of a thick board. Remember that when you are scoring, you're not folding it into the groove, which is always kind of the instinct. You're doing it the other way. So Give it a fold and just a quick burnish with your tool. Go ahead and do that other side. And you can set that aside. If you're gonna make 2 of these, you can repeat with that second piece, but again, we're just doing the one today. The next thing that's gotta be scored are what's going to become our folio pockets, okay? So with these, the first thing you've gotta do is score a 1/2 inch from the end. So remember, these were 6 1/4. So you're gonna go to 5 3/4 and score all the way down. Okay. Go ahead and rotate that. And you're doing a 1/2 inch from the end. So it's 10, it's almost 10 1/2. So we're scoring it at 10. Work your way back. Score it at 5 1/2, score it at 5, and then score it all the way over here at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so 1/2 inch, 5, 5 1/2, and 10. That's all your scores on here. Go ahead and set that one aside. Do your second plane. I don't know why I like to do the long side first. So come in a 1/2 inch, score it at 5 3/4. Turn it the other way. 10, 5 1/2, 5, and a 1/2 inch. Go ahead and set that one aside, and then what's left to score are your little tabs. So these folio tabs, you're gonna score in 2 different spots. Score at 5 and at 5 1/2. So right on your 5 inches and on your 5 1/2. And that's gonna leave you a spot to attach it. Go ahead and do the other. Right at 5 and at 5 1/2. Okay, so your scoring is finished, which is great. Go ahead and set those aside. Keep out your tool because you're gonna need it for burnishing all of your edges, but I do wanna show you a couple of little trims we need to make on those pieces. With your folio pockets that we're going to create, you've got 2 pieces right now that look exactly the same. They're scored exactly the same. Right now is when that's going to become a little bit different, okay? So I want you to position this either on a ruler, on a cutting mat, whatever makes the most sense for you. And we're going to make some marks and do a little bit of hand cutting with some scissors, okay? So to create this pocket, we're starting by going down 1, 2, 3, 4 inches on this left-hand side. And I just like to make a little mark. I'm gonna grab my scissors and I'm gonna cut across from that. And I'm trimming off right at the line that I scored, okay? So I'm cutting off the little 4 inch by 1/2 inch piece, okay? That's gonna look like that. I will need to mark 4 inches on this other side as well. Okay, so I'm lining it up. Again, everybody has their own way of doing this. I like the grid, it just works well for me. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. Okay, and I'm coming in, but I'm not cutting up that 4 inch line, and I'll show you why. Okay, so I mark it here. Then I need to come in from this score line in the middle, the right hand score line in the middle. Okay, I need to come in 1 inch and just make a little mark, because what I'm doing next is I am cutting diagonally from here to here. Now this is where I would just grab a ruler and make myself a little mark from here to here. I tend to mark a tiny bit north of where I need to cut, and that way I'm cutting off the pencil line. Again, that's just me. You do you. Okay. You could do this in a trimmer. I just feel like it's a little faster to just do it by hand. Okay. There we go. The last thing we need to do is we're going to be taking off some little pieces of down here at the bottom. So using the score lines as your guide, you're going to go just to the left of this score line, and you're starting about 1/8 of an inch out, and you're coming up at an angle and cutting right on that little, up to the little corner, and then cutting this little guy off. So you're taking off that little piece. On both of these center score lines, you're doing the same thing. You're coming about 1/8 of an inch out, hitting the center, go to the other side, about 1/8 of an inch out, but then aim right to that line. So you're just cutting these little wedges. This is going to allow you to put it all together really cleanly without a lot of extra bulk. Okay. Last one, you're coming to this corner, go just to the right of the score line, about 1/8 of an inch out, aim for the line, and then you're cutting off this little corner. All right, so I'm going to hold that up so you can kind of take a look at all the pieces that we trimmed out. Okay, this is one of the pockets. So let's go ahead and get the other one cut. It's going to be similar, but kind of a mirror image. Okay, all these little pieces that we've created are just scraps, unless you need them to do some decorating at the end, and that's up to you. Okay, here we go. We're going to go ahead and position this back however it makes the most sense to you. Okay, whatever cutting guide you're using. Doing again 1, 2, 3, 4 inches down, making myself a little mark, coming in, and then I'm going straight down. Okay, that one's done. Come on over to the other side. Number 4 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can do my quick trim here, but remember I'm not going past my score line. And then coming back up to the top, starting at the left score line in the middle, go over 1 inch, make your little mark. Grab your ruler. Draw your line, and that piece gets cut off. It's just helping us create that fun little angled pocket for the cards to nest in. Okay, last thing is all those little trims along the bottom. Okay, so same thing we did, but kind of the opposite. So coming in from the right hand side of that score line, trimming off that corner. Remember, 1/8 in, 1/8 in, pop that off, 1/8 in, 1/8 in, pop that off. And then let's get this very last one done. And we're just going to do 1/8 in, 1/8 in. And that's done. All righty. I think we have all of our pieces and we're ready to just kind of burnish all of these edges. So I am going to do a quick kind of go through with all of this. Use your scoring tool. Give everything a rub so that it's all nice and sharp. You've got good creases on everything so that it's ready to go. You're going to do this to both of the pockets that we made. Okay, that one's done. And don't forget to also do your folio tabs. Those were the like 6-inch pieces that we created, and we just did a couple of quick little scores on those. As I'm looking at this, I think I might have trimmed off an extra corner. We'll see when we go to put it together. Okay, last bit. Okay. I'm gonna leave these guys out where I can get to them. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add one more cut in here because there's a piece that I really like that I wanna add in to these cutting instructions. So I want you to go ahead and grab that piece of print paper that we had set aside, and we are going to cut a 1 1/4 inch strip off of it. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just put it at 1 1/4. And off of here, we're going to do 2 4 3/4 inch pieces. So with this piece, I want you to cut it at 9 1/2. And at 4.75. We're going to use these two that are the same, and this guy's going to be scrap. All right, go ahead and grab a corner rounder, and you're just going to round the bottom edges of each of these pieces. Now, you can tell what the bottom is because the top is where you scored, so leave that alone. Come down to the bottom edge and just round all of these. Okey-doke. These pieces are going to just nest right on this little folio tab, and I just like this extra piece of detail on here. So for me, anytime I'm attaching something like this that I know is going to be handled a lot, I do both a run of tape and I do a little bit of glue. This is totally up to you. Club Scraps sells a really wonderful bookbinding glue that is great for projects like this that get handled a lot. I do have that as well. It is very strong. I don't know that I need it for this particular project, so I went with a little bit lighter weight glue. And this one is new, and it's being nice, and it's feeding well, so that's what I grabbed. Alrighty, so just nest those in and go ahead and set those little guys aside. Okay. The next piece that I like to do is getting these pockets folded so that they have a second to then set aside and dry, okay? But there's one more thing that we've got to do to them before we actually assemble the pocket, because it's just easier to do it now. So if you remember, we created these 2 print cuts that we did, okay? So if they're directional, pay attention to that. Okay. We are going to be nesting these right in on the side that has the slant. So what I like to do is position it so that I can see about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, flip it carefully. I like to use my pencil to mark that, and then I know I needed about 1/8 of an inch in from that line, and this is a cut that I would do on just a small trimmer just to get a nice clean straight line. So I'm just going to position that so about 1/8 of an inch extra is going to be cut off. Okay. Double check before you put all your tape and glue on. Okay, that's gonna look good. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach this before I build the rest of the folio pocket. Again, I just think it's a little bit easier because when you're trying to press on something that has been folded and there's really nothing solid behind it, that's a little bit tricky. Okay. Again, I am a glue and a tape girl on a project like this. All right. So now I'm going to rinse and repeat for the other side. Remember, position, flip, whoop, draw your line, and then position it so that you're trimming off piece. I should check it first. Yep, looks good. All right, so these are ready to go, and I can show you how you can get them folded. Alrighty, so thinking about how this is going to go, you know that you're going to want this tab and this tab to be the last ones that get glued down. They're going to be your top, and that's just to make it nice and neat and tidy, okay? So I like to start with this little guy here, this little tab, and I just put a little glue on him, lift it up, and hold it in place, okay? And you're just creating like a 90-degree angle, so you can kind of look at that. You know, you're creating a box. So hold that for a minute while it sets. I like to do the same thing with this tab, and honestly, I think on that other folio, we accidentally cut this off. So I will go back and add a little note on there. Go ahead and hold that guy. Okay. So those ones I just glued. This one I'm going to go ahead and do a run of tape. And I'm going to do a little bit of glue. I just want that double insurance. Okay, go ahead and fold it and then hold those in place. This is where I like to have the stamp pad, because you're like trying to hold it and you're afraid you're going to push it down too far. I don't know. This just gives me something to push against, and I like that. So I am just pushing these down, creating this pocket. Okay. When you feel like it's pretty well set, this little guy is not wanting to stay. Push that stamp pad up against there and give it another good push. There we go. That's happier now. Okay, so there's your first pocket. You're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. You can see now why I really wanted that double-sided paper, right? If this had just been white, I don't know. It's not as interesting to me. So I love that I've got the turquoise, and then this is showing just the green, and they both coordinate with my patterned paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on here. Create that bottom kind of part first. Okay. And then I don't have the little tab I need over there. It's gonna be okay. It would have more structure if I had left it. So my bad. Hopefully you have the little tab. That is the joy of creating a video, is trying to go back and warn you if I made a mistake. Okay. So remember, kind of push this in so that you've got something to put some pressure up against. I've seen people use like score tape to do projects like this. That is also a possibility. Definitely, like I'll use score tape on different projects, but I joke that it's like, if I'm not attaching it to the side of an airplane, I think I'm okay. All right, you've got your pockets. We've got our tabs. We've got this guy. We have our spine covers and our front and back covers, and we are about ready to put everything together. Okay. Now, I want you to go back and remember these things that I had you make. If I was being smart, I would have had you put this in this already, but I did not. We're gonna add a little extra strength on here just to make sure that this isn't trying to kind of cave in. So you can measure inside or outside. You just want to get the idea of how long you're going to need it. Okay. Go ahead and apply your adhesive, whatever it is that you want to use. I'm going to go ahead and use tape. And it would have been easier to do this before you folded it, so I apologize. But you're going to push that all the way up against that spine and then use whatever it is that you're using to provide pressure. So phone, stamp pad, go ahead and stick that in there so it's just got a little extra strength. We're going to do that to this one too. Okay. And you do have 3 of these strips. So we've used 1 for this long part. And remember, we were cutting so that you could make 2 of these note card carriers if you wished. So you're going to end up using 1 and a little bit more for this project, and then you'll have plenty left. Okay. All right, so go ahead and grab your strip. The last little bit of reinforcement is going to go on here. So you're reinforcing this little folio cover. I'm going to go ahead and measure them both. And just that little bit of glue or adhesive, kind of get that little guy stuck in place. And just give you that little bit much more strength. Okie doke. Let's assemble, because we are at that point. Before you put on your covers and put your pockets in, you want to get your tabs put on so that this part is going to be hidden where you're attaching it. They come in about 1/2 inch. So if you can position your cover so that you can see where your score line is, you're going to want to come in about 1/2 inch when you go to put this guy on. And it does go on the inside cover. Okay, so put a little adhesive on that flap. Come in about 1/2 inch. And then just level right along the top with that score line, picturing this is coming over your pocket. Okay, so you've got one there, and we're going to do one on the other side, just the same. Okay, and this is also going to be held in place by the pocket. So line that up, come in 1/2 inch, right with the top of the folding board. Okay. All right, now we can attach our pockets and we can attach our spine cover. Okay, so spine cover, this is not going to be a high stress item. We're just going to do a little bit of adhesive. It's not going to be manipulated, moved around, so it should not be a piece that you have to worry about too much. It does kind of center in that space. There'll be a little bit of the folding board showing. So this is when you'd be making a choice between a white folding board or a black folding board or even craft, if that's something that you wanted. This is always a little bit tricky, trying to use the tape runner on here because it's elevated. So the stamp pad helps with this part too. I like to go pretty much all the way around with the adhesive on here, and I like the glue as an added hold. You're going to have stuff coming in and out of here. We're attaching stuff to it. I don't want this to go anywhere. Okay. Again, you're kind of centering. So there's a little bit of white folding board showing all the way around. And then I'm back to something to help me press. Okay. We're gonna rinse and repeat with the other side. I hope you like how this is coming together. I think it's really fun. Whoop. This would be a spot where if you are a score tape person, you know, maybe you want to use score tape on these. It will give it that extra hold if that's what if you're worried about it. I have not had these come apart. I've had really good luck with them. I've been making them for gifts for a bit. People are loving them, so. All right, push. Get that attached real well. Okay, we're going to be adding some Velcro dots onto these, but for now, let's just flip it. And we're going to get our covers on what'll end up being the front and the back and on the spine. Okay, so this is just going to be a tape and glue process. Real quick. Alrighty, hopefully you guys are pausing, working along with me, and having a chance to create such a fun project right on the fly. Pay attention if your paper's directional. This one really, it doesn't matter. It could go either way, but I wanted to be at least be consistent with it. I do think I might have done my strip inside upside down. We're gonna have to look. But dollars to donuts, nobody's gonna notice except me. Well, and maybe you. I think paper crafters tend to notice that kind of stuff, but so often we're giving things to people that aren't paper crafters that the mistakes that we worry about, they don't even notice. All right. So those are all attached. You could do this part first, of course. I mean, that in some ways that might be easier before the pockets are on, but we are getting so close to done, you guys. We're almost at the finish line. I hope you hung in there with me for the whole stretch. Alrighty, last bit are your loops. Now you got to think about this guy needs to close kind of straight 90-degree angle here. Okay, So you want to make sure when you're putting your loop on that you're not putting it too high. So just make sure it's going somewhere where it's overlapping both pieces. So I'm going to go about here. Okay, so I'm putting one on each. Here's my tip for the day, so you don't have to try to figure out how you're going to match these up. Put the other one on too, and these are just self-adhesive. I buy them in these big sheets. I use them for lots of little projects, so I pretty much always have these on hand. I'm going back to this because I want to know that I have it at a decent angle and I've left plenty of room to put my cards in. Okay, so I'm coming over the top, and when I push it down, now that self-adhesive piece is stuck and I can just open it. I'm going to do this on both sides, using the stamp pad to kind of guide my height. There we go. I would just kind of count to 10, give it a chance to adhere on there well, and then you're pulling off. Okay, I can go ahead and pop those back on. This closes. We're most of the way finished, okay? So what a cutie, right? Now you've got to decide with that band that you made how you want it to look. I personally like seeing more of the turquoise on this particular color palette. So this one's gonna go like this, okay? I like to lay this down, and I start by putting some adhesive just on what is basically the center, and I'll show you why. You're going to be wrapping this from the back around to the front, and there's going to be a little overlap, okay? When you wrap it, for whatever reason, one of like the piece that's on top, it kind of moves a little bit, and it just was awkward when I tried to do the whole thing at once. So I've got it here. Now I can finish up my gluing on this, kind of get it so that it's wrapped tight. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just gluing the 3/4 inch strip, you guys. I'm gluing it to the 1 inch strip. I'm not gluing anything to my box. I hope you're seeing that, because what we're creating is a band that we can slip on and off of this, but it will hold it all closed, okay? So for this last little piece, I want this to be on there really good. I'm going to put a little piece of adhesive here at the end. I'm getting my glue, going right back to where I was. Lay that down, okay, and just kind of hold that in place. Again, count to 10, maybe more. So that guy's on there nice and tight. Now you're looking at this band and going, I don't want to see that where that joins, okay? And that's okay, you don't have to. What I tend to do, I'm just going to hold this for a minute. What I tend to do at the end is I pick like a stamp sentiment, something that I like. If I'm dealing with a club scrap kit, there's probably some cute little embellishment that was included, embellishment card, a little saying, but I will create just a little thing to attach to this so that it's more personal, kind of fits the person I'm giving it to. So remember, you had some scraps, okay, different sizes of scraps we had left. We had some big ones, some small ones. Maybe you want to just create a quick like coordinating rectangle, and guys, I'm eyeballing the size on here, so I just did like a 3 by 2.5 inch rectangle, something that you can put on here, okay, where you're going to attach just this part, and then do a little stamped sentiment on white and attach it, or some cute little wooden embellishment, or like I said, a sentiment card, whatever it is that you want to do to decorate your box to finish it off. And that's totally up to you. But what you've got is a perfect little storage solution for some cards. So I'm going to grab some cards and just kind of show you how they go in. And then we're going to be done for today. All right, I just grabbed a few random cards I have sitting around. 1, 2, 3, 4 standard size cards. And they tuck in. I think one of these might be a little bit big. Let me pull that guy out. All right, tuck those in. Snaps closed. Put your cute little band on. Once that's decorated on the front, what a great little gift to give to somebody. So I hope this got you thinking. I know we got Christmas coming up soon. Maybe it'll get you going on that gift list. So thank you so much for joining in today. I really appreciate you. And it was awesome to spend some time with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.